Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creator Notes podcast, the podcast where we get up close and personal with your favorite creators, or maybe one you haven't met yet. And if that's the case, you should meet them. Hello and welcome, Logan.
I'm like, do they want to be me? Hello, how are we? Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming. I almost said the ZLB podcast. Oh, you just got to be straight up honest. If there's like
Yeah.
a look on my face of what the hell is he? What? He's had a moment. That's the moment I had. Which was it the first time that we actually met? Was a ZLB podcast? I think.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
PAX Audio Technica booth doing the
that's
podcast
right.
with you,
That's right.
Shelbunny, and Aaron.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Actually, an absolute goated crew when you think about it, and
Yeah.
it's weird to think of all the stuff that even like we've done since that time. Like it's it's crazy actually. But
Like in and around sort of, the
just
presence of events and cons and
events,
yeah.
cons, game launches, and sort of just
Yeah.
eras that we've been through. It's been hectic. To think that it was only last year that we were on doing a podcast together and talking about fun things about PAX, and now PAX is just around the corner,
You're
eerily
not wrong. Yeah.
creeping up on us.
Yeah. That's one thing. The older you get, the faster time flies. So it's like, oh my God, like it's gonna be here before we know it.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. Before we get carried away with
Hmm.
today's problems, let's go back because you've been a content creator for a while, and I
Yeah.
think some people know you for some things, and other people know you for other things, which is great as a to be multifaceted as a content creator. But
Uh-huh.
where we want to go back to the start and sort of figure out, where did it all start for you? What got you into content and stuff like that?
Yeah, okay. So on
Yeah,
a quick the TLDR, shall we say?
yeah.
Been a content creator for nearly 4 years now. I started on Twitch playing World of Warcraft. I would stream for my guild when we were doing Mythic
Ooh,
Nyalotha, which was the raid back then in BFA. And then I basically just mained World of Warcraft for maybe like 2 years, took a break, played some Final Fantasy 14, and then I've jumped back into World of Warcraft, and I'm doing sort of Diablo, League, that sort of stuff. But yeah, content creator for nearly 4 years now.
wow. So what was it that actually? Like, was it just because you're in the guild, you wanted to share your perspective of what's going on with raids and stuff like that, or is it more you're like, damn, I want to make stuff? Or
Oh, so the why of it. Okay, so the why of it.
Hmm.
So I was made redundant during COVID.
Right,
As some of us were made redundant during COVID, and I started just gaming. And a friend reached out, and he's like, "Oh, hey, my sister in the United Arab Emirates bought a Facebook gaming page and wants streamers on there 24/7. Would you like to stream on that page?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Anyway,
right.
so yeah, right. Contract negotiations were occurring, and I'm like, "Well, I better learn how to stream." So I've jumped on Twitch and I've started, streaming. Contract negotiations fell through. That never happened, but I'd already started streaming and I already started enjoying what I was doing and building a community. And I'm like, oh well, I'll just stay here then, And it started small, like I said. It was just like in a Discord with my guild at the time,
Yep.
and then I took it to Twitch so a couple of the friends of the guild could watch as well. And then it just kind of naturally evolved from there, with more people coming in from the WoW community, where I met a lot of people who, I call and consider friends these days. Without streaming on Twitch, I probably never would have known half the people I did when I went to BlizzCon in 2023, TwitchCon in 2022. Like, streaming's
Oh,
taken me places, man. Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's wild.
unreal. I'm processing everything you just said. So originally it was you were like, oh man, I'm gonna do some like I'm gonna stream games on Facebook Gaming was like the
Mm,
original plan, and then that
mm,
fell through, and you're like, well, I kind of like what I've learnt so far, so I'm just gonna keep going. Were
yeah.
you always like a gamer? Was like how back does
Oh,
the gamer go?
before I can even remember. Oh my God. So one of the first gaming experiences I ever had was going to a friend's place and playing their Commodore 64. Another one was like a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. We played Battletoads on that. I remember playing Alex the Kid. I forget on what console. I think that was like a Sega Master System.
Master System, yeah,
Um, yep. One of my
yep,
first ever consoles I ever owned, and sorry, it's a handheld, was a Game Boy. Remember the OG chunky ones that came out in
chunky
the
ones,
90s?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
My dad would not let me touch his, so I had to get my own. But yeah, my first ever all-nighter was when Pokemon Red and Blue came out in the West, and my parents bought me both and a Game Boy, and
Wow.
I stocked up with chocolates and Coke, and I did my first ever all-nighter playing Pokemon.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. I got Pokemon Yellow. But when Yellow came out, that's what I got.
I still have mine in my drawers, like they're just over there. If I'd known I was talking about this, I'd have it here to like show you, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No,
yeah,
that's
I've
all
I've
good.
been
It's
a
a gamer for a serious amount of time, man. Because
yeah.
yeah, 'cause, I mean, yeah, and look, I think it's always interesting because I had a few people on the podcast even where they're like, "Oh, yeah, I got into streaming, and then I figured out that I should start playing games." And it's always because you always make that natural assumption, "Oh, he's a streamer, he's a gamer." It's like, "Oh, no, not all of them. Some of them just like, creating content, doing,
Hmm.
silly skits and things like that." And just and it's interesting to see, and again, it's kinda we're talking like multiverse shit here, but the whole lockdown situation is like a canon event.
Uh,
It's a canon event that
yeah.
changed the course of action for so many people, and, like, even when you look at, like, numbers for, like, Twitch and stuff like that, Twitch blew up because of
Mm,
people being locked indoors and stuff like that,
mm,
and it's the same thing even businesses were like, "Oh, yeah, man," they either shut down or made lots of money during lockdown because, people needed things to cope with everything, and then it's like, how do we get that same figures?" It's like, "You can't." Like,
yeah.
that's it's an anomaly, and, it's there's a parallel universe where the lockdown didn't happen, and who knows? There's be so many content creators and stuff that maybe didn't do it. There's other content creators who maybe
Yeah.
didn't have their numbers blow up and stuff like that, and it's really weird to think of, but, we could almost do, like a survey just based on this podcast and the amount of content creators who either started or got kicked it into high gear, COVID and lockdown because,
Yeah.
I was already doing content and everything, but I did 300% more content during
Yeah.
lockdown. Like, it was insane numbers. I think I did nearly, like, 3,000 hours or something on Twitch in
Yeah.
2020, and it's just like, nothing else to do. Like, that was it,
Yeah,
and
exactly. We're all cooped up and, we weren't allowed to leave the house, so let's make the most of it.
yeah, I think a big part of all that as well, and, it's why games like Animal Crossing and stuff like blew up and during that time is that the only way to be social, was yeah, gaming and online gaming multiplayer, and I'm sure that like World of Warcraft was huge. I was deep into GTA RP at that point, and just
Mm.
like trying to have that connection with other humans while being stuck in a lockdown situation. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's no like, if everyone who's listening to the podcast, I assume that most of them, are old enough to remember the lockdown because people have been born since and they wouldn't have to deal with all that problem. But it's like everyone had the same problem, and you talk to so many people and they coped in it and all. But I always remember like as a great example is I think it was Axe 21 that got cancelled, or which was the
They
one?
released the merch for it, and you're able to buy the merch, but then they canceled the physical event because Melbourne was like, "No, no, no, no,
No, no,
no."
not yet. Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
remember I'd already like booked in time off and everything for
Yeah.
like, and then the PAX is like, no, it's not happening. I'm like, oh, damn. And then I think New World came out. I'm like, well, I guess I'll just do
Oh.
that for 4 weeks. And it's just and I literally just slept, woke up, New World, went to sleep, woke up, New World, and just did that for 4 weeks straight because I think we're in like another perpetual lockdown situation sort of thing happening. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of wild. But so and I think probably you mentioned you went to TwitchCon, what, 2022?
Yeah, 22, yeah.
And how was that? Which TwitchCon did you go to? And
So that was San Diego, TwitchCon.
yep.
And the wild thing about that, and I purely attribute this to streaming and the people that I met, is I had absolutely no intention, no plans on going. At the time, I moderated for a streamer called Third Artifact. They then changed their name to Artie a little bit later. She was a partnered streamer in the US, and she actually did a community fundraiser where she was like, "Help me raise 8,000 US dollars," which is no small amount. To fly my mods to TwitchCon,
That's
and
crazy.
yours truly was one of those mods that, like, got flown to the United States to spend like a week there in San Diego for TwitchCon 22, thanks to that content creator, Third Artifact, aka Artie. And I'm like,
That's
what the hell?
wild.
Yeah.
Mods
Yeah.
everywhere are going, what?
I shite you not. Yes. Covered
Wow.
all my flights, covered my accommodation. All I ended up having to pay for was my food. Like, and
That,
I'll always remember that.
that's incredible.
Mm.
Had to talk to his streamers and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
that's crazy. So it was, and then obviously you followed up with the following year off to BlizzCon, which BlizzCon's
Mhm.
done now, isn't it? It's not a
Uh, it's
maybe a
they've
thing, not a thing. I don't know.
you're spot on. They've left it fairly vague. They've said it's not happening this year, but they did kind of allude that they're going to have like more international events. Like they're going to sort of shard it out. Like my hope from what I read is
Mm,
that it actually increases the chances of having more localized events, right? Because I think Blizzard is finally acknowledging that, hey, there's more fans of Blizzard games around the world than just here in California, you
yeah.
know? And so hopefully it just gives more opportunity for more people to attend more Blizzard things. I think that'd be really, really cool.
How was BlizzCon when you went though? Like, is it?
Uh, it's the best. It was literally the best. So again, I went BlizzCon 2023, which means I got to see the announcement for the World Soul Saga. My perspective, just so you'll know, I was media approved. Had VIP badges. I had pretty much all access, short of being a staff.
Wow.
Um, and it was an amazing convention. Shout out Blizzard ANZ for that media pass too, by the way. Got the World Soul Saga announcement, got the new Overwatch 2 Malguai, I think his name's Malguai, announcement. Um, Diablo 4, like the Vessel of Hatred, like everything big was announced last year because maybe they knew they weren't going to do it this year.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows what's going on at Camp Blizzard half the time? They say one thing one day, and then like a month later, you feel like, what are they doing? And then the next month, they do
Yeah.
something really cool, and you're like, ah, nah, we forgive you. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
We've
yeah,
had
it's
enough.
kind of like Riot and well,
Yes,
yeah.
well, yeah, it's kind of yeah. We've had enough Overwatch people around to know that you know it almost feels like the only people that can hurt Blizzard are Blizzard, and sometimes they just sort of do it
Yep.
just to feel it, and then they come back and go, "Oh no, we're joking. We got something better for you now. It's fine." And it's like, okay,
I've
and
said that many times. I agree with you that I really feel like Blizzard is the only one that can do any damage to Blizzard.
yeah,
Um,
I just wish I'd stop
yeah.
doing that because
Yes.
it's like
Agreed.
it's fine. But yeah, I mean, Blizzard. Uh, it might be a generational thing, but I think for people that are sort of mid-20s to 30s now, like they grew up on Blizzard like hitting home runs every single time, and it was it's an interesting kind of like if you went and asked like say let's for lack of a better term, we'll ask a Zoomer what's a game
Mhm.
that's like amazing, whatever. They wouldn't consider Blizzard being an S tier. But
Mm.
for you and me growing up, between Warcraft and Starcraft and
Oh,
it's just like it's just every single time a game came out from Blizzard, like, oh yeah, instant. That's going to be 10 out of 10. It's going to be great.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to sink a couple thousand hours into this. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's kind of sad to see that it's not quite like that. And I always felt like BlizzCon's that kind of gathering where everyone gets together and sort of says, it's going to be all right. It's good. It's good. There's still good stuff
Copium.
coming. Topium, yeah, literally. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to always hear your perspective because there's so many like I guess younger gamers that just don't consider that Blizzard is a thing. They'll just go, "Oh, Blizzard, they do that Overwatch thing." That's the extent of it. Where it used to be every time a Diablo title was even hinted at, it was, "Oh shit, everything's gonna change. It's gonna be
Yeah.
amazing." It's nuts. But I always remember being like when the first Diablo came, and I remember going into my local Harvey Norman. That's where you get your PC games. And they
Yeah.
had like the top 10 games, like they had up on the shelf, top 10, and just Diablo was just number one for like the longest time. Like, it just felt like it never moved. It was just number one. Everyone accepted it was number one. You know, I remember there being other titles like Need for Speed and stuff like we'll get up close or whatever, but then it was like it's always Diablo number one. So
Mm.
interesting. Then StarCraft was just like incredible when that dropped.
We need more StarCraft.
We do. We are so ripe for an RTS game
Eh,
right now. Like,
It's okay. Okay, RTS like sidetrack. This year is the year of RTSs, but like Storm, was it Stormgate? I think it is.
Stormgate, yeah.
Um, I've got that on my desktop. Yep. And
Yep.
then there's another one. I think it's is it called Everspace or something? There's another one that's wishlisted. It's an
Yeah,
RTS coming out this year as well.
I've got about 10 wish listed. And I think
Yep.
the main reason for that is because, you know, because StarCraft's just they're like, we're not
Yep.
doing StarCraft yet. Everyone else is like, oh, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
And
Well, then,
like Stormgate, you play Stormgate, and it's
yep.
like, damn, this is just multiplayer like StarCraft. Like this is it.
Well,
And
that's exactly it, right?
yeah, and then like I remember playing it, going, "Oh man, I'm having flashbacks of getting Zerg rushed and bloody destroyed online." Just playing that
Yeah.
game, and then like there's a Starship Troopers RTS, which isn't multiplayer or anything like that, but like the campaign of it is so well made, and it's like, man,
Mm.
give us StarCraft.
Every RTS, I'm like, I need more StarCraft. Like Warhammer 40,000, which is a game I love playing as well. Like I've got the tabletop, I've got the digital, like I've got
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cubes of rule books here. They have Warhammer 40,000 Battle Sector, which
okay.
is like a single player RTS as well. And it's just like that one as well. I'm just here like, we need StarCraft 3. Like we need it.
Like I just feel like if they don't do it, they don't like money at this point. Like it's
Yeah. Aren't you capitalists? Don't you want money?
do you want money? Like
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, you know what? If they brought out a StarCraft 3, I might go to BlizzCon for it. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
but
But like that speaks to the power of these games, right? And that speaks to what you were mentioning earlier is that
yeah,
we're of that age where every single launch that Blizzard had was S tier, and
yeah,
which included StarCraft, and we would expect the same from StarCraft 3 if they ever did it.
yep, yep. When StarCraft 2 dropped, I remember I went like it's gonna be real degenerate in a second, but it's I remember I was at a party like a week before it dropped. And I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, are you excited for StarCraft?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, kind of. You know, I'm not very good online, or whatever." And they go, "Oh, we've got a crew together. We've got a crew, and like we're gonna be playing ranked from day one." And I'm like, "All right, I'm in. Let's go." And I remember getting like a slab of monster, and I remember cooking up like a massive batch of like lasagna so I could like meal prep because I wasn't gonna leave my desk for like a week. And
Yeah.
I just remember my girlfriend at the time was out of town, and I just strapped in. I don't all aspect of time was gone, and there was like four of us. We played rank for what felt like 2 weeks, but it's just
Yeah.
we just nonstop. Just as soon as one queue ended and like one game ended, straight into queue for the next one. You
Yeah.
know, don't shower, don't go outside, don't talk to
Yeah.
anyone else. It was just all in, and it was amazing. It was so
Yeah.
good, and it's great times. But I like, and we've talked about it again on this podcast. We've talked about it. Like, I don't feel like there's games that have that buzz anymore where you go, "Oh, I'm taking a week off. I'm gonna be a degenerate human when this game comes out, and don't talk to me." There's no midnight launch. Go down to your local store to get it. It doesn't feel like that anymore. Like we've had some really well marketed games, but like just no, not like I think the only thing, and I don't know how it'll play out. I just want to see it is like GTA 6 will be like the one
It's
where
gonna be huge.
like, I couldn't even tell you. I have no. It's whatever I think would be the biggest and most massive thing that they could do. I feel like it's just going to be bigger because that game will make $1 billion before it even comes out. Like it just in
Yeah, yeah,
pre-orders.
yeah,
Same.
exactly.
Got a friend.
It's oh, hello. It's fascinating though that you say that there's no games people take weeks off for kind of thing, and then like as a general perception, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I myself, I usually save my annual leave to take off for game launches. So like Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail has just come out, but the last expansion, Endwalker, I took 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
I'd flat out played Endwalker for 2 weeks.
Why didn't you
When
take two
Dragon
weeks off for Dawn?
Well, because I'm going to
Uh,
Europe in like a week.
Ah.
I need that leave, you
No,
know?
cancel your leave. There's a
Um,
game coming out.
well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? So, like, I took a week off for Dragonflight. The War Within is coming out end of August. Space Marine 2 is coming out end of August.
Yep.
There's a lot of games coming out, and all these games I would take time off for. I took a week off work when Titanfall 2 came out and when Titanfall came out,
Wait, hang on.
like
We're
a
going.
normal thing.
Try to remember when Titanfall 2 came out because that's been a while. But
Yeah, just a little.
this is my point though. Is like it used to be like, oh, the new Call of Duty's coming out, and everyone
Mm,
knows when it's coming out. You know,
mm.
mums, dads know that the kids would need to go to EB Games, JB Hi-Fi, wherever. They're gonna be there and gonna line up for an hour, grab it at midnight, then they're gonna probably call in sick to school or work the next day because they're gonna be up all night grinding the multiplayer or
Yeah.
whatever. Like that I feel like that time's kind of gone away. And I think
Mm,
like if I
mm.
like if you try to think of like the biggest game that was coming out, which everyone was talking about it and everything else, I think the last big one was Starfield, where it was like common knowledge to every single person in the gaming space. Starfield's coming out on this day. This is what it is, and that's it. Like, because Final Fantasy 14, I understand that. Like, from a perspective of being in the industry, kind of thing, I understand it's a big deal, but also some people don't even know that 14 Fantasy 14 is going. You know, it's and
Agreed. It was a big.
Call of Duty's dead now. It's like that's
Yeah.
like,
But
whew.
I definitely agree with you that Final Fantasy 14 is a big deal to MMO players, right?
Yes,
But it does feel like you're saying that it hasn't, like, it's almost like it's left mainstream and it's just back in its MMO box, right?
yeah,
And as you know, I have a giant Starfield tattoo down the right side of my arm. I like Starfield, all right? Just a little
I
bit.
like it too.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. But I would actually counter that and say Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erd Tree
Okay. All right.
DLC actually broke containment. I was at work the other day,
Yeah.
and the most random, non-technologically minded person I've ever met is like, "Oh, some games come out today," and I'm like, "Shadow of the Erd Tree," and he's like, "Oh, I'll message him." And yeah, half an hour later, he comes back and said, "Yeah, Shadow of the Erd Tree," and I'm like, "Yep,
What is wild about that whole thing? So actually, I do agree with you. That was big. Again,
yeah,
not like again, and I think this is the kind of the point I'm trying to make is like
yeah,
if it's not for everyone, but people were aware of it. But also, people were like, "Oh, this new game came out," and I'm like, "No, it's an expansion. The game's been out for
yeah,
years."
yeah,
And they're like, "No, it just came out." I'm like, "No, it's an expansion." People were
yeah."
buying Elden Ring for the first time because
Mm,
the marketing just hit for that.
mm.
And look, and I'm not an Elden Ring fan. I got essentially bribed to play it, um, and fuck, it was a great game. Like it was so good.
Mm.
Like I honestly, I was like, man, I shit on this game constantly, but then I played it, and I'm just like, so good. Like I still I don't. It's not like it's not a game for me still. Like I don't
Yeah.
get Soulsborne stuff at all. But
Mm,
that game, amazing, and I could
mm.
see that. And then Shadow Literary, like as much as it copped a bit of flack for being, I don't know, too hard. I think probably more accurate would be misunderstood. Um, the the marketing was amazing, and then the fact that they, without like who knows what sort of sponsorship deals and stuff was, but every single creator seemed to be playing it in
Yep,
some way, and
yep.
all the big ones,
Uh-huh.
and they were all basically daring each other to just keep playing it constantly. You know, marathons, death counters, everything. Like it's perfect. So like any other company would have dreamed of that kind of coverage.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was insane. Like and for me, I'm like, I'm not an Elden Ring person. I'd be embarrassed to stream it. People would be like, "What are you doing?" It's like, so I'm
Don't
like,
you know
I'll
how to
play it later.
parry? Yeah,
So,
yeah,
well, yeah, because okay, so when I first played it through, and people, and look, I'm sorry, Elden Ring, purists, but the
yeah.
game is so much better in co-op. Like bringing
Uh-huh.
friends and like just doing dumb shit with your friends and getting like taking on a boss where obviously you're meant to parry, dodge, whatever, but then you just have like four people just pile onto him and chaos ensues. It's so much fun. But I played it. We
Mm,
ended up modding it with a mod that has like seamless online co-op, and it was such a great experience. And I had so much fun sharing it with the people that would jump in my game and run around. So great. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But like part of this whole Elden Ring kind of ideology that's popped up is like, don't use summons, don't use magic,
oh,
must be a god with a sword. You can't, blah blah blah. It's like, no, just play the game. They're in there for a reason. It's so Yeah, it's kind of I guess it's the same as, like, playing Pokemon Nuzlocke, for example. Like, you just add all
Yeah.
these extra restrictions to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm this good at the game." The hardware. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. But you're right, it did definitely do it, but I don't think that was by any means the marketing machine from, like, Bandai Namco, for example. I think that was just straight up creators, got behind a product that they were enjoying, and they loved it and gotten passionate about it, and then it took off, and you're right, when they break containment, and there's always moments where you go like, someone that you would consider, again, for lack of a better term, a normie would come up to you and go,
Yeah.
"Hey, what's this thing?" And you'll go, "How do you know about that
Yeah, yeah,
thing?"
yeah.
And it's only happened a couple of times because I work in an industry that's so far away from gaming as a whole. I work in the hardware industry, so, you know,
I work in motorbikes and cars, like
there's some adjacencies there. There's car games. There's not really well, I mean, there is Construction Simulator, I guess, but it's
Yeah. Farm simulator, agriculture, they need supplies.
that's true, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
But it was interesting, and actually, I could say more about that. But the thing I wanted to bring up is I remember having morning tea in the tea room, and they said, "Oh, there's this game coming out," and this was a while ago. It was the first time I saw breaking of containment, and it's when they go, "Oh, it's got 1,000,000 planets, and you could it's like a never-ending game about planets and stuff." It was in the paper, and I'm like, "Talk about No Man's Sky," and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
what's that about?" And I'm like, "How do you know about it?" It's like, obviously, some mainstream media grabbed a hold of
Mm,
the great line, and then they sort of ran with it, and I think it was the fact that it was like 1,000,000,000 planets.
mm.
But it's like, and then they'll be like, "Do you play games like that?" I'm like, "I play some, yeah."
Yeah, just a couple. Mm.
Just a couple, but I do remember having a conversation with a coworker not that long ago. I got well into Supermarket Simulator,
Uh,
and it was like because it's basically like running a business, and I'm like my day job, but I was excelling in that Supermarket Simulator. Like I was nailing it, and I'm like, people are so much nicer in the game.
yeah, wow, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's always a weird thing. But yeah, it's interesting. But I think like there's definitely moments in gaming and that kind of blow up and do that sort of stuff. And I just kind of feel like there's a lot of uh, I, I kind of like missed opportunities, I guess. And Elden Ring got lucky. It is what I would say. I don't think that was a manufactured approach and stuff like that. But it's always interesting. Fun breaks content. I'm sure there's many
Mm.
people that are enjoying that content still, but I think what's been beaten by a DDR pad by now and something.
And,
Oh,
not only a
the
DDR pad, the girl who
what's the
controls with her mind.
mind control for
I'm
that.
I'm
I
like,
don't know what the
"Alright then,
technical term
cool."
is.
Yeah, telepathy, that's what she's using.
Yeah, and
But,
yeah, so it's interesting, but it's
just
I
just
think
a just a
yep,
hot take though. How hard
yes.
can a game be if you can control it with telepathy?
That's why I go back with, it's misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's it's misunderstood, and I think that's it's like when they add an expansion and they add a new currency because they're like, "Hey, we know that you've been grinding this game forever. We can't get you go in as a millionaire. You need to farm the new currency." It's the that's basically why it's like, "Oh, that's weird. We have to do things differently, and if I keep doing it the old way, it's hard." Yeah, not that hard. Um, I think I could beat it, but I'm not gonna put that to the test.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I do wanna talk about and kind of pivot a little bit because we've obviously talked about your MMOs and all that sort of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I think most people who would be familiar with your stuff recently is more of the, cardboard variety content,
Ah.
which um, the run us through 'cause, like, I know a little bit about Magic. Magic's not for me, yeah,
Uh-huh.
but I respect that it has a fantastic marketing behind it, and for a lot of people, it's like do or die. It's their thing. They love to spend money on it. They spend their weekends doing it. So, you know,
Mhm.
how did you get into Magic? And what's Magic
Yeah,
to you? The
okay.
card game, not
I've been
the
in Magic.
wizardry. Magic the Gathering.
That's it. So Magic the Gathering. I've been involved in Magic the Gathering for about 13 years. This is my deck box with my Pride and Joy deck in it. For about 13 years. Why did I get into Magic? I nearly died. That's how I got into Magic. I had what was called a Quincy, which is something in the back of the throat. Google it. I don't want to go into the details here and now.
Right.
And I needed to recover. I was put on 2 weeks bed rest, right? Like doctor's notes, not allowed to work, 2 weeks bed rest.
Yep.
And so the man who was raising me at the time was like, "Oh, let's keep your mind busy." And so we went to our good games in Newcastle. This was, oh God, who knows how long ago now, but it was back in Newcastle.
Yep.
And went to good games, and we bought our first booster box. And back then it was like 2011. It was the Innistrad block. So I think like werewolves and vampires, Avacyn, that sort of thing,
Cool.
for those MTG minded persons. Um, and we got hooked. We got the draft booster box. We sat outside in the sun where it was nice and warm and cool, and just opened packs. And anyone who's ever opened a pack of Magic knows the serotonin, the dopamine you get from cracking a pack, chasing that card.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. And yeah, so basically, after that, the rest was history. We went back to the shops, bought a few more draft boosters, started building our deck, started attending our LGS, our local gaming store, a lot. We went to some local tournaments just to check it all out.
Yep.
Then I took a few years break, and then what's kind of really spurred the recent thing is that Emily loves it as well. So it's something that my wife and I can both enjoy. Like, as you say, we're some of those people who we have tens of thousands of cards. You should see my office space right now. I'm sorting them all. We have tens of thousands of cards, and we will sit there on a weekend and we'll build new decks and we'll sort out our cards. And yeah, it's just fun, and it's a very, very social thing. We've definitely come out of our social bubble for MTG, but I think you may or may not know this. I also get paid to teach it. I used to teach it at Fortress Melbourne, and now I teach it at conventions around Melbourne, and who knows, soon maybe in Brisbane as well.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did attend, what was the last one? Comic-Con.
Mm,
Briefly. I was there for a day. But man, there
yeah.
was so many people, and man, in that like space in the middle with the
Hmm.
holy, like there's no
Yeah,
denying that it's popular, and it
yeah,
feels like only getting more popular would be the best way to describe it.
yeah.
And look, as much as it gets very close to enticing me in, things like the Fallout set, and then now the Assassin's Creed set, is like,
Final Fantasy soon.
oh my god, it's doing the right thing. Like it's working.
Yeah, yeah. The collabs, the Universes Beyond collabs are bringing in a lot of new people. A lot of new people. We've got Final Fantasy coming next year. We've got Marvel coming next year. The CEO committed to, I think it was at least 4 Universes Beyonds per year. I think, don't quote me on that, but they've committed to doing more of them per year.
Yeah.
And then, they've just had their MagicCon Amsterdam where they talked about foundational sets. They're releasing a really, really cute set in a couple of weeks called Bloomburrow. They're releasing a horror themed set at the end of the year called Duskmorn. So they kind of like
Yeah.
bounce around with all themes and all styles of
Yeah,
art,
yeah.
which really sort of captures a very, very wide audience, in my opinion.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like that's exactly why it's sorta, I guess, blowing up is 'cause, someone goes, "Oh, I'm a big fan of, Fallout," and now they wanna know about that, and then they get in, and once they get the hooks in, then away you go. And,
I
it's
literally have a
there you
card
go.
right there, literally. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good, and I suppose probably the most, natural next question, and I feel like what a lot of
Hmm.
listeners, because a lot of the listeners to this podcast are creators themselves, is
Mm.
how do you go about, like, getting more involved into that sort of stuff? Like, if you're not, let's say you're just getting started out, you're a fan of Magic
Hmm.
the Gathering, and you wanna, put some skills into promoting it or playing it or just getting more involved in general, how do you do it?
So obviously, well, not obviously, but as I said, I get paid to teach. I'm also already a content creator, but I'm also a part of the sort of Wizards of the Coast sort of creator program for this sort of stuff. And the how of that is showing your passion, right?
Yeah,
So the same way I was given the Starfield opportunity, it's just talk about it. It's be passionate about it. It's the same advice you tell any creator that wants to get into any program. It's create the content as if you're already a part of it, and the rest will follow
100%.
naturally.
Yeah.
My wife, she's not a content creator, but she is now because of Magic the Gathering. She creates TikToks and YouTube shorts and like these videos of her going to Magic events and all these cards she's excited for. And she's become a content creator because of her passion for Magic the Gathering. But
Yep.
she's not in any of these sort of programs. She's not in any of these sorts of things. But I do know that they have their eyes on her because she is creating that content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've seen a few comments going around recently, and like like I do a lot of activations for like film activations and stuff like that,
Yeah, you
and people
do.
are like, how do you get into that? I'm like, you gotta like you gotta show that you're passionate. You gotta show them what content you make. You gotta show them. Like it's not tell them.
Yeah.
Don't go. Oh, if you invite me, I'll make a cool TikTok. Like, no, you gotta show them.
No, no,
You
no.
gotta you gotta show them.
You make the cool TikTok first, and then you go,
Correct.
"Hey." It's like, all right, you think of it like you're an artist. You build a portfolio, and then you go to your art director with this portfolio and say, "This is what I can do. Give me a job."
Yep.
It's the same for content creators. We build our portfolio, we put it out there on our, our linked website, all that sort of stuff, and we say, "This is what we can do. Let us
Yeah.
work with you."
Yep, 100%. And it's
Yeah.
like and look, I'll be upfront and because people very much like, "Oh, I'd love to do movie premieres and stuff like that." And sometimes they're like, "Well, you gotta make the content." Well, you can't really make content of things you don't get invited to. It's like, "Okay, there's other ways to get invited." And
Yeah.
this is where it becomes like, you just gotta think a little bit outside of the box. And like, I'm an ambassador for Elgato, for example, and I sent them the most
Mm.
cringiest out of the box thing I could, and I'm in. Because
Yeah.
I think they probably watched it 4 times going, "What is he talking about?" But it's like so for, like, me, when for getting into films and stuff like that, apart from being just a massive film nerd and just
Mm.
obsessed with everything moving and essential, it's like I entered competitions, and I entered so many competitions to get
Yeah.
invited to events, and, like, whenever there's like, "Hey, we're doing a pop-up thing at Melbourne Central," or, "Acme's having a free night," or whatever, just go and make content and be like, "I love this shit. I'm passionate about this shit," and then you tag everyone. You tag everyone, and you
Yeah.
make sure that it's discoverable, and you get it out there, and then, like, I literally was doing that and just entering competitions and turning up to all these events, and, events like PAX and stuff like that, and there's events you can buy tickets to, and, like, I'm a member at Acme, because I love Acme for everything they do, but also, they have really cool events.
Mm.
Um, and you get to find about it first for a price of like $10 a month or whatever it is. And it's like,
You're like, "Ooh."
it's nothing to us, but they do all the stuff that I love. So all that kind of stuff. And then, um, I got a message based on one of I can't even remember. I did like some TikTok posts, and I think it was Instagram was the one. And Paramount literally reached out to me and said, "Hey, you're into movies and you're into games. Uh, would you watch Halo? Would you like be interested in Halo?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but I'm like,
Ah.
I don't have Paramount Plus though." Like, "Oh, we'll send it to you. It's fine." It's like they sent me a DVD and that's fine. And then I remember after that, I'm like something else Paramount was putting out. So then I messaged
Mm.
Paramount like, "Hey, thanks for the DVD and stuff. Here's the links to the content. Check that out. Also, I know you got this movie coming out. You reckon I could get an invite to that?" And then that's it. Just kept going. It's just
Same
kept
for me.
going.
Yep.
And every time I, do something cool or meaningful, I make sure I tag them and everything. And if I need to hit them up for anything else, I make sure to, follow up with a, "Hey, thanks for the last time.
Mm.
Love to
Mm.
do it again." And like it just people get a little bit like there's two well, there's lots of different ways, but there's two things that I see a lot of. And the number one is people think like they deserve it, like they've owed it. And I just be like, "Hey, I'm a big content creator and I should get tickets to this."
See, that's exactly it, right? Like, it's that mentality. I think a lot of people feel like they're owed these sorts of things, and it's not. It's at the end of the day, it's still very much a business transaction. At the end of the day, you still need to show that you are grateful, that you are thankful for the opportunity,
Yes.
that you hoped that you were able to achieve what they expected or wanted from working with them, kind of thing. If you haven't been able to work that out in advance, even.
Yep.
Um, like one thing that a lot of creators we get gifts, right? We get gifted if you're lucky enough. Sorry, not all of us, but if you're lucky enough, we get gifted things.
Yeah.
Um, and you need to create content around those gifted things, right? As at the very least, sort of like a business exchange, but also to show them, this is that whole how do you get into the movies? And you get gifted something, make content around that gift,
Absolutely.
show them of what you're capable of, and then you might get more, or at the very least, be viewed favorably when the opportunities come up for more. It's like, okay, I'm a ROG partner, okay?
Yep.
How did I get ROG partner? I followed the right person on socials, so don't forget to do that as well. Look for community managers, look for like social media managers, that kind of thing, and just follow them. One of them tweeted, they were like, her name's Jasmine, in case you want to look her up. Jasmine tweeted, "Hey, I've got an opportunity. Here's a keyboard. Who wants it?" And I put my hand up. I said, "Hey, my name's Logan. Here's my media kit. Rah, rah, rah." Next thing I know, I got a DM and she's like, "What's your address? We'll send it." She sent it. I created content around it. She liked it, invited me into the ROG Partner Program.
Yep. Foot in the door.
Done.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's a lot of it is like following community managers is a great one. Or, follow your local accounts. Like, there's no point following,
Local.
Sony if should be following Sony Australia. It's like
Yeah.
wherever it's possible. And the way I always like to think about it is also like make their life as easy as possible. So
Yep.
you don't need to send them an essay. You got to be, hi, this is who I am. This is what I'd like to do. Here's some examples. If you need anything, just ask. I'm happy to do whatever you like. I'm flexible with this, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
If you've never met them before, be like, I've attached my media kit. Explains who I am. Done. If it's
Yeah.
like you're trying to do something, maybe you're trying to do like a charity thing or whatever, attach something there. Make it as easy as possible. Then when they do it, you've set the expectation. You're like, oh, I'll make this thing by the end of the month. Make it by the end of the week, and then send it to them, and send it and tag it all and everything else, and then send them the numbers afterwards and say thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when they go to have their meeting and they go, oh look, I sent out 7 keyboards. This one did really well, got 1,000 numbers, whatever else, da da da, and they could put it in their report. They could give it to their boss.
Yep.
It all gets ticked off. Everyone's happy. Like
Yep.
it's the people that make their life easier are the people like that will have that repeat businesses.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yep.
when those, if you want to get into like full-time content creation, whatever else, when those paying opportunities come up, that's when they go to the people that they can rely on to hit those targets because now money's involved. So,
Yep.
it's just doing that. And I know that, like I've been very fortunate and I've gotten a lot of stuff and some things have random and some things I've asked for and they've been like, yeah, okay, we know who you are and we'll help you out. And
Mm.
when you get to that point, it's amazing because it's all of a sudden it's
Mm.
like, it's no longer a limitation of, oh, I'd love to do this, but I can't afford it. It's like,
Mm.
but I know someone. And you can message them and you say, hey, you know how we did this thing last time? We could do another thing like that, blah, blah, blah. And it just opens doors and doing that. But I
Yeah.
think the important thing is, and as Logan's mentioned, is start making the content now. If you're a big, let's go, let's not pick a, well, no, let's say you're a big Final Fantasy fan, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know how to get in contact with Final Fantasy or Square or anyone, that's fine. Still, make the content. Like go day one. You get your game, you load her up, you're playing it, you're streaming it, you're making shorts, you tag them in it. You might get a couple viral clips or whatever. Just like that's all it takes. And then the next time you can go, hey, you might meet, someone from Square. They might be at PAX or something like that. You go, hey, I've made this content, stuff like that. Is there an email I can, reach out to you, blah, blah, blah. Get that email
Yep.
address. You send them an email with your media kit, links to what you do, what you want to do, put in the door.
Yep.
But you're going to feel like an idiot if you get that opportunity to talk to Square and you're like, oh, I haven't made any content yet. They're going to go, it's like,
Yeah.
you gotta, it's that portfolio thing. It's very important.
Also, to anyone listening that's like, oh, but I don't know how to make the content, etc. You know what content you can make? Text-based content. You can talk about the game. You know what other
Literally.
content you can make? Screenshots. Take a screenshot of your favorite moment that's happened in the game, or take a screenshot of your character and wax lyrical for days about your character in this game. There's content styles and approaches for everyone out there. So don't beat yourself up if you can't produce these gorgeous, high quality, beautifully edited videos. If you can't do that content, don't worry about it. Focus on content you can do and work your way
Exactly.
up to that content eventually. Like magic content is like I take photos of cards I like and I talk about these cards that I like on socials. That's content.
Yep. I feel like I know exactly what's coming out. Every time there's a new pack coming out, I already know because there's
Yeah.
all these photos that are popping up, and
Yeah.
and then I see Assassin's Creed and I go, oh damn.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah, it's actually that, and I can't remember. I was talking to actually I can't say. I was talking to a
Yep.
game company recently, and they were reaching out to me based on some content they've seen from my stuff,
Yeah, nice.
and then they're like, if we were to give you this game, can you do? And it's like unboxing, walkthroughs,
Yep.
tips, memes, in-game photography. Like the list of content that they were looking for was huge, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I could do most of those things, but it's like. There is some in-game photographers who are god tier, and like
Oh.
I will never consider myself one if I could ever get to that point. That's like but like you just do what you're good at, do what you can, and that's the
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, it's photo and just saying you love a game, and maybe you do. Even just people that like film themselves for 30 seconds, going, "Man, I'd be playing this thing, and I
Yep.
love it. It's so good. I've been blah blah blah." It's just. just be passionate,
Well,
being authentic. It's
right, like
important.
that's exactly the thing that you're nailing, right? So you and I, we're partners in certain programs. Okay, so for example, whenever I talk about ROG stuff, I have to hashtag it, add hashtag gifted, right?
Mm,
Which almost feels, and hear me out when I say this, almost feels worse than talking about these sorts of things when I'm not in the program, right? Because when I'm not in the program talking about these things, people believe you.
yeah,
People go, oh, he's not sponsored. Oh, it wasn't gifted to him for free. So it doesn't invalidate your opinion and your thoughts. If anything, it carries more weight if
yeah.
you're not in these programs and you're waxing lyrical about these things or, talking even constructively critical about these things. But the moment you
Mm.
enter these programs and you start having to put ads and gifted, people, your opinion is essentially invalidated because they're like, oh, you're paid or you're gifted kind of thing. So
Yeah,
really,
it's so hard for me. I love Skull and Bones, all right? I
yeah,
think
you
it's a
do. Yeah.
great game. So many people are like, "You just love it because it's Ubisoft." And I'm like, "I'm not
Mm,
a big fan of Ubisoft. They give me the games." It's so funny because I really love Skull and Bones. Like, I love pirate
yeah.
games so much, and I love,
Yeah.
like, Assassin's Creed games so much. And I always say that, like, I'm not a fan of Ubisoft, but I also play like 90% of the games.
Yes.
So, and I had a friend of mine, Drew, who was on an earlier episode of the podcast. He always say, "Oh, fucking Ubisoft, man! It's just coloring in the map and all those sort of cliches that they put in every Ubisoft game." And then at between that time when we did that podcast and now, he's sort of like, "Ah, they keep luring me in with these games that look really good. Assassin's Creed
Mhm.
Shadows looks good. Star Wars Outlaws
Star
looks
Wars
good."
Outlaws.
He's a Ubisoft creator now. He bit the bullet. He jumped in. But it's like it's not. But like I could say that like Ubisoft, they don't tell us, hey, you must be good about this game. Blah blah blah. It's not nothing like that. They literally like, hey,
Mm,
you're a Ubisoft creator. Here's Ubisoft Create. Go great. They're like that's
yeah.
as much information as we get, apart from things
Mm.
like don't break embargo or whatever. But it's like
Well,
yeah,
Blizzard is exactly the same. As you know, I'm a Blizzard ANZ partner, like WoW partner. They're exactly the same. They brought me on board because I was already doing all the stuff, and they're like, "Hey, welcome. Keep doing what you're doing." And I'm like, "All right, cool." I also get Diablo codes and keys because I love playing Diablo. What else? I'm in the Riot program, the League Partner program, and I'm like, "Okay, what do you want from me?" Blah blah blah. And they're like, "Just keep doing what you're doing." And it's like,
yeah,
again, to sound like a broken record, it's do the thing that you love and you're passionate about and show it, and then the rest will follow. Like,
that's it. That's
and be a
exactly right.
genuine good person.
Yeah, it was funny. I think it was what sealed the deal for particularly the Ubisoft thing. I was at PAX last year, and someone came up to
Yeah.
me and like, "Oh, you excited for the new Ubisoft game?" Blah blah. Blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And like, "You're a Ubisoft creator, aren't you?" I'm like, "No." Like, but you play so many of the games. I'm like, "Yeah,"
Yes.
but it's fine. It's whatever.
It's fine.
I was playing them anyway, and I applied. I'm like, I should just apply and get in,
Yeah.
and get that sorted out because yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to be doing so much Ubisoft stuff and not have that contact to be like, hey,
Yeah.
this thing that's coming up, can you tell me more about it? Get that inside track so I can plan things. But it's like, but at the same time, I was already doing the content. Like I'd already done. I think I'd already last year. What might have been the year before? I did like Assassin's Creed marathon. I played every single game in a month, and
Nice.
it
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, I wasn't sponsored by Ubisoft. It was just what I was doing. I was very passionate about playing those games and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I think but the important thing is to be authentic. Be true to yourself.
Mm.
Don't feel like, oh, I got this free game, so I'm going to do it. And I've had free games where I've had to like send them an email after saying that was awful. It's
Mm.
like,
Mm.
it's like, yeah, if you see my stream and I look bored, it's because I was bored and that game wasn't
Yeah.
good. It's like I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And most of the time they'll come back going, oh, we know it's been rough. We're looking to update this or whatever. Like they're receptive to it.
Yeah.
It's about being constructive because again they're just
Exactly.
talking to. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think we are running out of time, but that's okay.
Mm.
I just want to just cover off again I suppose this is probably the big question because I think a lot of people, particularly people that have started out streaming in the last kind of year, 2 years, they'll look at all the cool stuff that you do, which is
Mm.
you've had some pretty cool moments,
Mm.
running panels and events and everything else. So, for someone who's just getting started, how do they get to like where you are in terms of like how do they get to start doing more panels kind of stuff? Like what's like the best bit of advice been given or you someone else?
Shoot your shot. like if I had to summarize in 3 words, it's shoot your shot. The biggest thing that held me back was lack of confidence, fear, hesitation. I feel like I could. So, like in the last year, I've kicked off with all the panels and that sort of stuff, hosting panels, being on panels. In the last year, I had 2 sponsored streams, like one from Blizzard, one from Bethesda. If I'd have done now what I did 2 years ago, I'd be 2 years accelerated, and the
Yeah.
only thing holding me back was me. Shoot your shot straight up. Be polite, be in your approach to them. Again, feedback, be constructive. You be genuine. Your content, be creating it already. Like you were saying, GTA 6 is going to be out in who knows when. But if you want to be a part of that GTA 6 like early access, alpha, beta launch, get
Yeah.
into GTA 5, create that content. Simple.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Be the GTA 6 creator before it even comes out. That's it.
Yeah, be the creator you want to see. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, cool. Well, we're gonna probably wrap it up there. So,
Yep.
where can people find you? What's the best way to find you and your
Yeah.
content?
So I am at LHP64D on every platform. I main Twitch and Twitter, but I'm also available on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Just at
Everywhere.
LHP64D.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on the podcast. I feel like we could probably set up a masterclass on shooting your shot at this point.
Yeah.
And look, and we started the podcast, and I said, it's been nearly a year since we first were on a podcast, and
Mm.
um, the amount of shots that you've shot, it's,
Yeah.
since then, it's been wild. It's been a big year for both of us.
Mm.
But like, to your point just then, it's if I had done this years ago, and if you had done it years ago, would been somewhere else. It's just like
Yeah.
um, there's a lot to be said about not waiting,
Yep.
and I think both of us can attest to uh, taking those opportunities since then. It's been great. it's,
Yeah.
it's
I'm glad I've
it's
left
no
the
other
wait
way.
and see tribe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Me too. No, I did it much longer than you did. I was in that wait and
Yeah.
see tribe for forever. But
Yeah.
now I do things like this podcast is just a matter of going, hey, we want to do this, and we do it. It happens. We're not going
Yeah.
to wait and see anymore. We're going to do it. So thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to chat. And I'll no doubt see you at something soon. We'll see. If not PAX.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
And if you're not already following Logan, you should absolutely go check out Logan. And if you're not already following this podcast, what are you doing? You've made it this far in the show. You obviously like it. Please give it a like and please follow. And if you want to see any particular creator on the show, leave us a comment and I will reach out to them. And they might say no, but at least I tried. But thanks for hanging out, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.